All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start in the NFL. The Panthers today, they fired their head coach, Frank Wright, after a 1-10 start. Of course, the Panthers have the number one overall pick right now. That would go to the Chicago Bears if the season ended today. Aztecs basketball over the weekend, they beat Cal in the SoCal Classic in overtime, 76-67. I can't wait for John and Darnay's argument over why the Aztecs aren't in the top 25. Next up for the Aztecs, they take on Point Loma tonight at Viejas Arena, 7 p.m. tip. 6 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. And the Aztecs football team, the old oil cans coming back to San Diego and the Mesa as they beat Fresno State 33-18, sending Brady Hoke out a winner. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/2. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
Need a little more of NBC7's Darnay Trip? You're in luck. Sports Wrap continues with our own Jon and Jim and Darnay Trip, taking a look back at the weekend that was and giving you all the latest news and analysis. Now here's Jon and Jim and NBC7's Darnay Trip.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? Jon and Jim with you on this Monday. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. We've got Aztec basketball tonight. We got a lot to get into from an Aztec perspective. As Sports Wrap continues with Darnay Trip, we'll talk about the Padres, of course, as well. Less than a week out from the winter meetings. Now, I'm told, Darnay, we have to start here because I have to start every show basically here. Darren tells me, because we weren't listening to that final segment, because we were getting ready for the show. You know what I mean? Getting ready, in quotations.
You were eating like dog food.
Scramble.
It was dog food.
But so Darren tells me the second he turns the mic off, he's like, Darnay doesn't think the Aztecs should be ranked. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go.
Darnay is dead to me. So I'd like you to make this argument. 5-1 San Diego State back home tonight against D2 Power, Point Loma. 5-1 with a road loss at BYU. Is he pulling my leg, or do you truly believe San Diego State should not be ranked?
I truly believe it doesn't matter. And I also truly believe maybe you should start listening to the final segment before you guys come on, because then you would know that I was misrepresented by Darren Smith. And those who have listened, unlike you guys, to my time with Darren would know that I said no such thing. I did point out that, Florida Atlantic was one of the teams that came up. And so I said, hey, they're right ahead of the Aztecs, according to Ken Pom. Stuff like Ken Pom, that's what people in the know really care about more than the rankings, especially at this time of year. It doesn't really matter. I was just looking at Ken Pom. James Madison is ranked 73rd, according to Ken Pom, and they are
15th?
22nd.
Okay.
22nd. And so there's a lot of disparity there between folks like Ken Pom and what the writers have submitted. But at the end of the day, the Aztecs are right there. What I said was I'm surprised that they haven't gotten a little bit more favor from the pollsters because of the familiarity, the fact that what they did last year, people know about Brian Dutcher, they know about this program, they were ranked preseason. So I'm a little bit surprised from that standpoint, but it doesn't really matter. So I don't really have a strong take on it. I know this is probably disappointing. You thought that we were going to get into it and tussle a little bit.
Oh man,
but Darren misled you, sadly.
Jim, I started last week's show there. I like to start every show where the Aztecs aren't ranked by complaining that they're not ranked, but Darnay doesn't want to have that fight with me. Would you like to fight with me over it?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Because I'm in the same boat of thinking it doesn't matter right now. Just keep playing, right? You're going to have opportunities in front of you to play teams that are really good. And if you beat them, then you're going to be in the top 25. Like you're going to play Gonzaga. Colorado State has vaulted up to number 20 in the country. Okay. You obviously play them in your conference. You're going to have opportunities to play good teams in front of you and have quality games under your belt. And those are your opportunities to go out there and show all these AP voters, well, stupid as it is, that they should be in the top 25. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, just win your conference, play good basketball.
It's fine.
And guess what? You're in the tournament again, and everything is fine.
Right. You win 6 games of the tournament, you're national champions. This thing is easy.
Let me ask you this.
Do you remember where the Aztecs were ranked last season before the NCAA tournament?
I do.
Of course you do. Darnay, do you know?
I don't.
Exactly.
I don't truly know.
Correct.
First.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay, Mark Ziegler will join us at 5 p.m. with more on the Aztecs who are home tonight against Point Loma. There's a lot. What did you guys talk about the last 30 minutes, Darnay? This is a good way to start the show?
What are you talking
yeah,
about?
maybe you guys really do need to listen when I'm on.
We were
with Darren.
preparing.
We were preparing.
And where has that gotten you?
Exactly.
They were number 18 in the final AP poll before the NCAA tournament.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, who cares?
Okay. Like I said last week, after what happened last year, why do you care about the polls at this point?
Yeah. What happened last year?
Wouldn't that kind of recalibrate like what you're emotionally invested in because of what you experienced last year and the desire to repeat that again, and the understanding that the stuff that gets you there is not being ranked in late November. It's winning Mountain West games. It's getting some nice out of conference wins, which they already have, and getting in a position where you're in the tournament, hopefully get a favorable seed, and then play your best when that time comes around. I have a tough time, finding the emotional bandwidth to get fired up about AP polls in late November. I thought it was cool, like the preseason, because like they were ranked preseason close to highest, in program history. I thought that was neat, but beyond that, I don't have a whole lot of energy.
Can I make my last point for both of you, just real quick? And I agree with what everyone's saying, and if they're pointless and meaningless, which I tend to agree with, then I'm all for getting rid of them, because again, they're 5-1. If they were 6-0 with a victory over Point Loma right now, as in if BYU was a month from today, and they were 6-0, they already played Point Loma. Let's just say they win by 10 points, 89-79. Whatever. They win by 10, they're 6-0. They were 17th in the preseason or 19th?
17th.
So where would they be in the AP poll if BYU was being played December 29th and they were 6-0 and having played Point Loma? 10th?
Well, if they gave up 79 points to a Division II program, even knowing that Point Loma is not your ordinary Division II program, how does that impact them in terms of like the defensive efficiency ratings and the Ken Poms? And what do the pollsters think of that when they look at Ken Pom and say, oh, they've slipped a little bit defensively. Maybe they're not the same team that we thought they were.
Can we talk about the head coaching search, and then we'll get to the Padres since we're on the Aztecs?
Go right ahead.
So Jim did pregame on Saturday beside basketball. He touched a little bit on the coaching search with Bear Tolliver. Aztecs go out victorious, as you said in the update. I thought it was a really cool scene. They played very well. Their best game of the year. I mean, without
no question.
There's no question about it. Brady Hoke goes out a winner. So do the seniors. You get the old oil can back. It doesn't make up for the season, which they go 4-8. And here we are now, where you're seeing hires being made around the country, Power 5, Group of 5 level. How are we feeling right now? Jim, I'll start with you. I mean, do you have any feel for where this is going in terms of a timeline or a direction that J.D. Wicker could be looking? And how curious are you about this hire that's about to come at some point, probably this week or next, for San Diego State?
Well, JD told us that they expect to have a new head coach in here by the middle of December, because you need to, for college football, especially with recruiting and getting your coaching staff already and all that, right? Transfer portal, like you got to get a coach in here pretty quickly after the season ends for you. So I would expect mid-December to find out who the next head coach will be here. Also, we've only heard 2 names, right, that we know of.
Now 3.
Who's the other one?
Okay, so we've heard Brennan Marion, the OC at UNLV.
Yeah.
We have heard Tony White, the DC at Nebraska. We've heard in the Athletic within the last 36 hours, Ken Niumatalolo, former head coach at Navy.
Okay.
Those are the 3 that have been sourced.
So it seems like there's a lot. It's a very wide search. There's not really one singular person they're going after, because you got an offensive guy, you got a defensive guy, and I don't know.
Niumatalolo, I mean, he ran the triple option at Navy for 15 years.
Just for my own sake, I have nothing against him. I just
say the last name, Jim.
If they hire him, I'm sorry, coach. I will never be able to pronounce your last name. It will be a disaster. I don't know. I think that they're casting the widest net they possibly can, talking to as many people as they possibly can, and we'll see what happens. I don't have a feel on it at all right now. I know where I would go. I would go offensive side of the football. I would go as Marty, this is Marty's term. I would go the hot guy route. I would go for the hot coordinator, an up and comer, maybe not Marion for UNLV, because he's only coached in Division I for 1 season. But
As
along
an OC, yes.
as an OC, but like along that route, like I don't want a retread. I don't want a guy that's been fired, like just recently fired from a job. I want the up and coming hot guy, using Marty's term.
What do you want, Darnay?
Having read a bit of the reporting, Kirk Kenny obviously does a good job. And I thought the interview with Brendan Marion, I found that incredibly impressive. Just a lot of what he had to say. Obviously, he has a clear idea of who he is offensively. And so I think having a system in place is really, really useful. It's obviously worked out well for UNLV. But also, what he said about, it doesn't necessarily need to be a years-long process. There's value in every player in their roster. You don't necessarily need to have a whole bunch of turnover. I think that's promising. I think, especially given that the Aztecs probably want to get this thing and feel like they have the talent and the recruiting base to get this thing turned around pretty quickly. I thought that was really, really interesting. Obviously, the Tony Whites of the world are going to be in the mix. And when you hear what Matt Rule had to say about Tony White when he was asked about him, paid him extremely high compliments, like somebody should hire this guy. He'll do a great job. I think if we're talking profile, I think, hot guy. I think offensive-minded guy, I think, is probably important and probably the direction that you want to go, especially after, decades now where it's been such a defensive-focused program. I think everybody's kind of longing for kind of a shift in that direction and somebody that has a system in place, that has an offensive identity, and has a track record for putting up points. And I think I think you want somebody young with some energy. It's going to mix it up with the students, mix it up with the fan base, get people fired up.
So Jim,
because nobody would show up to Snapdragon if it was Jim.
Come on, guys.
No, but Jim gets people fired up. You know what I mean? Like,
but
you
not
agree
necessarily in a good
way.
way.
Not the best way
But
possible.
whether you agree with what he's saying or not, there's engagement. And I think the program has lacked a little bit of engagement, and I think that part's important.
Can I throw out two names that haven't really been linked?
Oh, here we go.
But I think make a little bit of sense, and they don't fit Darnay's mold. They don't necessarily fit Jim's mold. They quasi maybe a little. Just hear me out.
He won't stop talking about this name.
Who do you think I'm talking about? David Shaw?
Yeah.
David Shaw is one of them. Okay. Who, coach, he's a San Diegan. He coached at USD, has Harbaugh ties. I'm not using that from a negative, but I mean, you think about the success he had at Stanford, Harbaugh, and, his coaching success. Forget about this recent scandal. And the Stanford run was unbelievable until it wasn't. And it was a bad ending. So was it for Navy and Ken Niumatalolo. But he had an amazing 10 years and then a bad ending. So there's David Shaw, who was no C, by the way. All right. And he's only been out for 1 year. And then the other name I'm going to throw out, and Jim made a good point. You don't necessarily want to hire a coach that was just fired. Shaw was let go, right? Or did he retire? I don't even know. But Dino Babers at Syracuse is a San Diegan, offensive first coach. Had Rocky and others on his staff running a 3-3-5 there. And he was just fired by Syracuse. He had a 10-win season there a couple of years ago. It's like the worst job in Power 5, one of them. Syracuse, tough list to win. It just is. But those are two names that to me are intriguing. Babers, Syracuse, former head coach, was fired. David Shaw, who had an amazing 10-year run, 3 Rose Bowls with Stanford before a bad ending. Do either of those names intrigue either of you?
Name offensive players from Stanford other than Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey, coached by David Shaw.
Well, those would be two good places, though, to start, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but over the course of a decade, I mean, if really after and 2011, that was his first year with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's last season, and
what about Bryce Love?
The quarterback spot, Bryce Love. There's a good one. Bryce Love had a really
in
nice
Heisman
career.
voting. I want to say 1 year.
I just think I don't know. When you think about David Shaw's teams, you don't think about them slinging around the yard. You think about kind of probably a similar style offense to what the Aztecs have had, where you've just got like beefy offensive linemen, traditional sets, and they'll run it right at you. And they had a lot of success doing that. But I do find myself wanting somebody a bit more. I just don't think offensive innovation necessarily when I think of David Shaw. Exciting offense, that sort of thing. Had some really, really good teams. Now, things dried up a little bit after 2015, after Christian McCaffrey left. And for whatever reason, I don't know why that was. I was covering WSU around that time. I I saw them come to Pullman on occasion. And after 2015, it just wasn't the same type of caliber team, despite the presence of a guy like Bryce Lev. But while David Shaw, I think, the local ties, success at that level certainly wouldn't be a terrible candidate. I don't know if, he gets you excited and if his style gets you excited the way that I would like to see.
I'm with Darnay. I think it's a good name. People would definitely know that name. Like a lot of Aztecs fans, and I would assume all of Aztecs fans wouldn't have to Google the guy.
No doubt. Yep.
David Shaw, you know him. I mean,
Sure.
you've seen him on
West
television
Coast,
for the NFL draft, like West Coast, like all that stuff, right? You know David Shaw, it's a name. Is David Shaw a guy that is hungry to be at the best level? Like, is he like, okay, I'm going to turn this program around, and then hopefully in like 3 or 4 years, I get that call from like a Texas A&M or whatever. And I'm not saying that's a necessarily good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying getting a guy in here that's hungry, that is maybe not the youngest, but young-ish, right? The up and comer wants to build quick and fast and has, goals of taking this program to the next level, and then getting that call for a Power 5 big time school in 4 years. Like, I think I would want that, and I'd be totally cool with that, putting this program in that direction, than a David Shaw who might just be good for staying around for 7, 8, 9 years, and it's not really like anything crazy.
Darnay, would you like to reply to that?
I think Jim basically agreed with most of what I had to say.
I did, yeah.
So I don't have much of a retort there. Again, I think like name recognition, all that, I think that's great. And that could do something for you. And he probably has a pretty clear idea of what he wants to do and identity. I think all that is important. But I find myself thinking younger, more energetic, maybe a little bit more innovative to spark something in this fan base that's just kind of been laying dormant for a little bit.
All right. Nobody likes my names. It's fine. You guys want 27-year-old Bill Walsh or, Mike Leach is a 29-year-old. I understand. But it's hard. It's hard to. The one thing I would say about that is when you hire an OC or a 30-something coach is you could hit a home run. I guess it's the same with a veteran coach, but you kind of, the track record of the veteran coach. It's like nobody knows the backup quarterback because he hasn't played. And you love the idea of the backup quarterback, and then he plays, and maybe he's really good or maybe he's not. And you hear a name like Ryan Grubb. He's the OC at Washington. He's done an amazing job. He's got Michael Penix. I think San Diego State would probably have done, better on offense with Michael Penix, would be my guess, with all due respect to Jalen Maiden. But with these coordinators that have never coached a team, you better get it right. Like, you better be hiring a person that is not just a play caller, but is a coach and a leader of men and understands that process. And listen, there have been a lot of hires that have gone right in that capacity. A lot of former coordinators become amazing head coaches. And there's other former coordinators that are terrible head coaches. And I guess it just speaks to this. It's just an important hire. The hire that J.D. Wicker's about to make, he could make it in 5 seconds, by the way. I mean, this could be made. There have been a lot of jobs that have been filled in the last 24 hours, including Texas A&M. It could be made in 5 minutes or 2.5 weeks. But the hire he's about to make is critically important for San Diego State when you consider everything: realignment, Snapdragon Stadium, trajectory of the program, finances of San Diego State athletics. It's just critically important.
And I think you make a good point there, where maybe Brendan Marion is too far in the other end of the spectrum in terms of kind of a lack of experience, having not been in one place for an extended period of time. I would totally understand if somebody thought, maybe this guy's like a couple few years away. But there's also been, look at what Sean McVay's done with the Rams. Like, I think about him all the time. That was a guy that was probably a couple few years away, and he's had a fantastic career with the Rams, now a Super Bowl champion. So threading that needle that's why it's such a difficult and important task for J.D. Wicker, because you're trying to meet all these types of needs and check all these boxes. Somewhere in between there, where a guy that's done it for an extended period of time, maybe as a coordinator, but has had that kind of stability, might do you some good compared to somebody that is maybe the hot guy, the sexy name, but hasn't proven that they can lead a full team, not just like a position group or what have you.
And my final point on this, whoever they go and get, I feel like for next year especially, you better be able to make sure that guy can bring a quarterback with him.
I agree with that.
Like
definitely.
during this interview process, there better be can you bring a quarterback with you? And who can you bring with you? Like, you can't just come here and then go recruit or whatever. Like, you better have a quarterback in the transfer portal, I feel like, ready to come with you.
What about the idea, real quick? We'll get to the Padres on the other side. The latest with Juan Soto, the starting pitching market. I mean, where are they going to turn when it comes to starting pitching? We'll get to that coming up on the other side. What about the idea of blending both, which is you bring in a veteran head coach and a young offensive coordinator? Like, hypothetically speaking,
That can,
David
that
Shaw.
can bring the quarterback with.
Yeah, my example would be, David Shaw is the hire. Tony White is the hire.
Yeah.
Brennan Marion is the offensive coordinator because San Diego State outpays whatever UNLV is paying. Now, you could argue Marion could get a Power 5 OC job. I don't know. But you bring in someone like Brennan Marion, who brings his freshman quarterback at UNLV, who just had this terrific year with them in the portal. And then you're like blending both. You've hired what you deem to be the best coach. You might not be an offense first coach, but you hired this, young up and coming play caller who has a familiarity with the system and a quarterback. And like, you're just blending it all together because you have the resources potentially to do that because of Snapdragon Stadium, and you got more money than San Jose State or potentially UNLV, and that puts you in a position where you could take advantage of that opportunity.
And that's really important, regardless. And if you do go with a young guy, I think that's one of the concerns with a young guy is he's just going to want to move up. And as soon as he gets a Power 5 opportunity, he's going to bolt. So we might only have him for a couple years. That's where whoever his offensive coordinator is, or if he's the play caller, whoever his quarterback's coach is, whoever is that next in line is suited to kind of take over so that you can kind of maintain whatever identity you have, the system you have. So it's not just a 2-year thing. They're able to establish something here with the coaching staff in place so that if a guy who comes in is 36 years old, gets a job when he's 39 years old, there's another guy in line to kind of take over and help you not miss a step, going forward.
Darnay, where can our listeners find tonight's sports wrap with you and me and Jim? And
Roku, NBC San Diego Roku channel every Monday, 9:00, the full hour. If you miss it on the radio, you can catch up with us on Roku TV, NBC San Diego channel at 9.
Darnay Tripp, NBC 7. Darnay, always appreciate it, man. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Starting pitching is already a concern for the Padres. I think it's more of a concern after something that happened earlier today. And can the Padres even move on starting pitching before they make a decision on Juan Soto? We'll get to that on the other side. Mark Ziegler will join us at 5. Aztecs Hoops at 7. We're underway. It's Jon and Jim. All right, the Padres have a lot of work to do when it comes to starting pitching. Can they address it without first addressing Juan Soto's future? That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Aztecs basketball tonight at Viejas Arena versus Point Loma. Aztecs coming off of an overtime win versus Cal on Saturday night. Aztecs football Saturday night ended on a win, taking back the old oil can from Fresno State, beating them 33-18, sending out the seniors with the win, and Brady Hoke with the win to end his coaching career. NFL news of the day: the Panthers at 1-10 have fired their head coach Frank Wright. And tonight, Monday Night Football, Bears and Vikings 5:15 kickoff in Minnesota. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Off Friends 12/2. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday at Staples.
All right, happy Cyber Monday. If you've bought anything, happy holidays. Did
you
people
buy
say
anything?
happy Cyber Monday?
We had a wrap-up show last night.
Yeah.
And the first thing you said is, ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
That's because Thanksgiving is over and that's what people do.
But it's not Christmas yet. It's not even December.
Yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not. You're right.
It's not.
Well, we're inside of a month.
Oh.
I feel like my 4-year-old is really into Christmas. He's been talking about it since like July 5th.
Yeah, I'm really into Christmas too.
Okay. So happy Christmas.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I worked, man. I worked the
that's
Brady
right.
Children's Invitational Thursday and Friday. I went to San Juan Capistrano Saturday.
So you've had
Well,
no days off.
you've just been twiddling. You did 1 hour with J.R. Tolver, where J.R. completely carried that thing. I listened.
You son of a...
You did one wrap-up show with me.
Yeah.
And that was your last 5 days.
Dude,
You've been sneezing all day today.
it's been a sneeze fest for
Yep.
sure. I felt
Doesn't the sneezing like lessen when it gets colder or cooler, I should say?
dude,
Yeah, it's
I
the
have
holidays.
my patterns of
Stop
sneezing
sneezing.
for me is all weird.
He's like, it's this weather. I'm like, the 69 and sunny?
I never said it was this weather.
You've said it before.
I have
Yeah.
said it before, but not today.
Okay.
I have not used that excuse for today. So
Do you have something you want to say? I thought you were going to say something.
no, I was just asking you how your Thanksgiving
It was
break
great.
was.
Anyway, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, Jim, as well. I want to
Thanks.
get to Sonny Gray and what it means for the Padres.
Yeah, screw that. Sonny Gray.
When Sonny Gray is signing a 3-year, $75 million deal, you've got problems if you're the Padres. Like, you got legitimate
Yep.
problems. Now, they already have problems because of their payroll and what's going to happen with Juan Soto or not happen. But Blake Snell's gone. All right, let's be fair.
Bye-bye. Sorry.
The Waka, Martinez, Lugo conversation we can save maybe for another day, but there's a good chance none of them are back. There's a scenario where maybe you grab one back. You've got Musgrove off injury.
Yeah.
You have Darvish off injury, and you got prospect pitching in like single and double A.
Yeah.
And that's where you are heading into this year. Like a year ago, Snell, Darvish, Musgrove, Waka, Lugo, Martinez.
Yeah.
This year, like not a lot of that. And that Sonny Gray got $75 million.
Yeah. Darren elaborated on earlier today, and we talked about it last week when I asked Preller about like the future.
You did talk to him.
The future of Juan Soto and like,
yeah, you're sit down with him.
Remember when you said that you weren't worried about pitching at all with this team next year?
Correct.
Yeah, I think you should probably change your tune.
I'm not worried.
You're not?
Okay, so when you say worried, are you worried like they're gonna have a bottom 6 rotation in baseball?
I'm worried. No, not a bottom 6.
Are you worried like they're gonna have a bottom 10 rotation in baseball?
I'm worried that the pieces or whatever pieces they get aren't going to be good enough. So I think a middling rotation, like a 15, 16, ranked rotation, I don't know if that's good enough.
They had a top 3 rotation. It wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I know. So, but it's still, it's one of those things where you got to have pitching to win. And if you look at the pitching right now for this team, okay, here is the rotation as it is right now. Ready for this?
Well, you're gonna.
No,
3,
I know.
4, or 5. We're just kind of making up.
But
right?
But this is to illustrate just
how thin it is.
How thin it is,
okay.
And from where it was compared to last year.
Okay.
You Darvish, Joe Musgrove.
I like
Pedro Avila.
Not as much.
Matt Waldron.
Also not as much.
Adrian Morejon.
And not as much.
In the minors, you have Jay Groom.
Great.
Iriarte. Okay. Robbie Snelling. Dylan Lesko.
Yeah, these guys are young.
I mean, dude, I'm just.
Well, they're going to. Can we all agree they'll either trade or sign additional pitching?
I would hope so.
Would you agree that they will trade or sign additional pitching for the rotation?
It's about who they're going to go and get.
True, but what did we say about Lugo and Waka last year? Interesting. Kind of prove me deals, right? Big question marks on both starters.
Well, so now we are going to be banking on Preller dumpster diving again for another Lugo at $7 million.
Correct.
Okay.
That worked out last year. Now he doesn't have Blake Snell to fall back on in his rotation.
Yeah, the Cy Young Award winner. You're putting so much stock into Darvish and Musgrove to not only stay healthy, but pretty much perform at an all-star level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a middle-of-the-road overall pitching staff, then your offense is going to need to be a lot better. The reason why, this team only won 82 games last year wasn't because of the pitching. It's because the offense stunk. And so you are now saying you're okay with a middle-of-the-road pitching staff, but that means you have to be significantly better offensively.
My guess is it'll be a top half pitching staff. Why do I say that? 2 reasons. Marine Layer Petco, okay, 29th best hitting yard in baseball. So you rely on that. Guys redeem their careers here. Lugo, Waka, Martinez, etc. I say that, and then I have pitching whisperer Ruben Niebla.
Okay.
So if you could do it with Waka and Lugo and Martinez and shoot Snell, to be honest, because we saw some bad out of Blake Snell over parts of those 3 years. If he could turn Snell into what he was in 2018, in 2023, like I have faith in Ruben Niebla. I have faith in Petco not delivering good hitter results again. And there's reasons to believe if you just look at the last 4 or 5 years, they have a top half rotation. Now, 2021, wheels fell off fair. They had no pitching. Everyone was hurt. They didn't address it down the stretch. But 2020, 2022, 2023, starting pitching was better than fine. So I've got Darvish. I have Musgrove. I'm going to do something in free agency. I'm going to rely on someone in my system. I'm going to need to stay healthy. But I don't think this is like an awful rotation would be my guess heading into the year.
So when this team signs Noah Syndergaard this offseason, you're going to feel the same way you do now?
No, but I mean, I'll feel similarly if they go out and sign Nick Martinez back and make him a starter for 30 starts, or if they go out and sign Lucas Giolito I'm going to
With
say
what money?
What money?
Yeah. With what money
Well,
are they
have.
signing these
I mean, they
pitchers?
have to have some money. I mean, they're not going to have two starters in the rotation. It's not going to be 1913.
And if they keep Juan Soto, where's this money?
They obviously are going to have to do something with their pitching. So if it's not Soto, it's Cronenworth. If it's not Cronenworth, you get the point. It's Kim. If it's not Kim, it's whomever. They're going to have to do something to address payroll. I agree. And it could be Soto. We've talked about it for weeks on end. So they're going to have to do something to address payroll. But I do know this: they will address the rotation. It won't be Waldron, Avila, whomever.
Because like we heard it from Preller. He said it, right? Pitching. We need pitching. I've said it before then.
Sure.
Their number one offseason priority, above all, before they have to figure out what to do with Juan Soto, because that's the number one thing. But the roster construction, it's pitching. They don't have much of it. You have two guys in the top of your rotation that are coming off of injuries. One guy's almost 40. To me, I don't know if a 15th or 16th ranked rotation next year, overall pitching staff, is going to be good enough, because I don't trust this offense to be a top 5 offense in baseball.
Sure. I buy that. I'm with you. There's definitely questions. Again, they had a top 5 staff, top 7.
Like, I would much rather, like, if you were to ask me, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a top 5 rotation in baseball or a top 5 offense in baseball? I would choose a top 5 rotation in baseball every day, just as long as that offense is ranked around the top 10 mark.
Well, then maybe you wouldn't construct a roster with 120 to 4 offensive players. That's what they're paying 4 players.
They tried.
Bogarts, Tatis, Machado, and Soto, if he stays, is $120 million per year. A little more.
I know. And those offensive pieces did not work last year.
So 4 players is 120 of your 200. You got 80 for the other 22. They've tied it up with Musgrove and Darvish and Suarez and Cronenworth.
Well, you better hope that Tatis and Bogarts and Manny and Cronenworth
Can pitch.
Can give you a top 10 offense, right? Close to a top 5. And then you can work with a top 15 rotation / pitching staff in baseball, and you can make a trade for a pitcher at the deadline, just as long as your offense is like one of the best in baseball.
All right, your reaction to this on the text line, 70470, start it with team. Do you have faith or no faith in the Padres rotation and pitching staff heading into 2024? 844-570-1360, 70470. You can start your message with team. Plus, on the other side, we do it every Monday. Is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend. Jon and Jim, Aztec basketball at 7 p.m. Stay with us.
It's 60 minutes. It's 60 minutes until tip-off. Counting down to Aztecs basketball. This is the countdown to tip-off. The official pregame show for San Diego State Aztecs basketball. All the insight.
All the analysis.
For tonight's matchup. San Diego State Aztecs basketball is brought to you in part by
Anheuser-Busch, Aztec Shops. ShopAztecs.com is your official source of team apparel. Visit ShopAztecs.com for the latest SDSU gear. Kaiser Permanente.
Kaiser Permanente. For all that is San Diego, for all that is you.
The Mesa Foundation. The Mesa Foundation need your help to support Aztec basketball. Visit MesaFoundationSD.org to learn more. Pepsi. Grab yourself an ice-cold Starry Lemon Lime flavored soda for the game.
San Diego Sports Medicine. SDSU Alumni Association.
Toyota. Toyota proudly supports our community and SDSU basketball. Viejas.
Volkswagen. Hurry into your San Diego County Volkswagen dealer's Sign Then Drive event.
Whistle Realty Group, the official realty group of SDSU Athletics. 619-91.
Now we head out to the site of tonight's game, Viejas.
All right, great giveaway today. We'll tell you about on the other side. Plus, is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend. Mark Ziegler joins us at 5. Stay with us. All right, today in the 4 o'clock hour, here's what we're giving away. 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. So it is Christmas, Jim. You got a little jingle bell over there. You need your microphone on for people to hear it. Yeah, you got a jingle bell.
Noel.
We have a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration to give away. We'll do that in the 4 o'clock hour. Feels like Christmas.
Yeah.
70 out.
Yeah, we actually put the Christmas tree up last night. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
We did too.
It's Christmas
Friday.
time. It's Christmas time. It's Christmas time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mark Ziegler will join us coming up at 5 p.m. We're going to get to Is That Good? The best and worst of the sports weekend in a moment. But first, let's go to the phones and Dave, who's been patient. Dave, thank you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. You're on with Jon and Jim.
Yeah, same back to you guys, man. What a fast year this has been, hasn't it?
True. Yes,
God,
agreed.
it's time to turn around. So yeah, Jim is right. I'm not real
What?
sanguine with this lineup as far as the two pitchers go. With you've got a 38, almost a 38, maybe a 39-year-old Darvish that's been injured 2 of the last 3 years. The shoulder socket injury that Joe had is major. It's for a pitcher to have. You know, you pray that it can hold, but it's leaky. You know, and that's a concern. You got to look at the dumpster dive. We got lucky last year. The thing to look at this year, gentlemen, very unusual. It's crickets with the Padres and being linked to anybody that's a free agent out there at this point. And you remember the last 2 to 3 years, they were linked to everything. This year, they're linked to nothing. I think the bigger concern that I have, I don't know who's running the Padres at the top at this point. You've got a caretaker. We don't know what the whole realm is of that person's involvement is going to be in the future, or what agenda or direction that person may have or been given vis-a-vis the final instructions from Peter Seidler. We don't know where any of that's going. And on top of that, you've got a $66 million hole from the TV contract that we have no idea where that's being recovered from. So I'm at the point where I'm saying this year, in my mind, whether you agree or disagree, is going to be either a reload or a little bit of a rebuild, because there are so many holes, so many questions, and we haven't even begun to talk about the bullpen yet.
Dave,
So,
thank you. We appreciate the call as always. A rebuild or a reload. I don't know if you can do it with this roster.
It's hard to say that with a roster of Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts,
Yeah.
Fernando Tatis Jr., Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Ha-Seong Kim, Suarez. I guess you could throw in Cronenworth because he's got an $80 million contract.
Yeah, how do you rebuild with
That's
that?
not really like a rebuild.
I think you either win or you crash and burn.
Yeah. I mean,
and you move on.
But even if you crash and burn, what's
new GM? Yeah, you still have problems. You still have similar problems, but I'm saying you have a new regime.
You crash and burn, you still have those players that I named on this roster. And if they don't perform, it makes it that much worse.
Well, Soto, of course, regardless of what they do, is going to be gone potentially after a year. So that's $33 million of your 200. That's 16%, maybe more.
I'm just looking at like the players with the big contracts and the no trades.
Well, okay. One of the big ones that we've been talking about all offseason is Juan Soto.
Yeah, I know. That doesn't fix all your problems.
No, but that's why there's only two options here. There's no rebuild. There's no, hey, we went 79-83, but we really like our system.
To me, a rebuild is like you trade Bogarts or you trade Manny, you trade Joe, like you get prospects there, you free up a bunch of money. That to me is like going full rebuild, but I don't see that happening.
And also Peter Seidler said like, that'll never happen.
Yeah, I know. But unfortunately, Peter's not here anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea of them actually going down that path.
And by the way, those contracts are kind of unmovable.
That's what I'm saying. Like the idea that you just move off contracts and there'll never be a fire sale when this team is owned by the Seidlers, and then there is. If you move an immovable contract plus Juan Soto?
I don't think next year is a rebuild. I think next year is a trimming and hoping that the players that they do have under these long-term deals perform up to their contracts.
Yeah, it's like you have to win, or someone else is going to be in charge of trying to find a way to win.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope going into next year. They hope that Manny can be healthy for a full year and put up MVP numbers. They hope that Xander Bogaerts doesn't only have 50 RBIs in a season for you, right? They hope Tatis reverts back to offensively his 2021 season. You hope that Joe and you can have all-star type of years.
I will. I don't know about Joe. All right. You didn't get it. Over your head. All right. Let's do the lightning edition of Is That Good?
The old oil can is back on the Mesa. Aztecs beat Fresno State 33-18. I don't know why I had those numbers mixed up. 33-18. Sorry. Brady Hoke goes out with a win. Seniors go out with a win. Great night at Snapdragon. Brent, is that good?
It is good! All right. I'll match that. And whatever you do after you match someone and raise. CM Punk, who I'd never heard of until 2 days ago, and Jim posted about him on Twitter, return, which means he had previously left WWE. Is that good? It is good. I thought he was like a rapper or had done music.
Of course you did.
You need to like branch out a little bit more.
Why?
The Panthers are 1-10. They fired their head coach. They have
1-10.
They're 1-10. Their first round draft pick this year goes to the Bears. Brent is very excited about that. I'm sure he wants every Bears game to be a loss for them. Yeah, it's very good. Very, very good for Brent.
1-10?
Very good for Brent. Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., come on down.
That'll make the Bears
Just
about one game
Marvin
better.
Harrison.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want Caleb.
You hate
He
Caleb.
hates Caleb
I don't
Williams.
want Caleb.
All right, I was there. San Juan Capistrano Saturday. Reese Waters, a career-high 24 points. He was named the MVP of the SoCal Showcase. San Diego State over Cal in overtime. Is that good? It is good!
Some people will say that the Bills choked. Some people will say that the Eagles won. But
Well, the Eagles did win.
I know they did, but like
The Bills did choke.
I will go on the side of the Bills choke that game away.
Especially in overtime.
In regulation, too.
Yeah.
Bills losing in overtime. Eagles are now 10-1. The big matchup this weekend, which will divide my household.
And they're dogs this week at home.
So far they are.
They will be. They're 2.5-point dogs.
Is that good?
For the Eagles or the Bills?
The Bills.
No. Terrible.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, they're
What are they, 6-6?
they're
That's
6 and 6.
unbelievable.
Season's on life support, man.
No doubt. Speaking of season, well, it's not even on life support. Their season's over, as it always is.
It's done. Flatline.
Chargers lost. Is that good? For San Diegans, yes. Not all of them. Not all San Diegans, but for San Diegans that don't like the Chargers anymore,
How
7
is
years
Brandon
later.
Staley get like 25 lives? Like, how is he still the head coach
Because
today?
it's the middle of the season. Why would they move on from him?
They've already moved on from a couple coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, but I saying, like, what's it going to accomplish? You're not hiring anyone.
What's the
Going to
point?
move a coordinator.
A boost. I mean, the season is technically still not over, John. You can give your team a little bit of boost.
No, you can't. They're 4-7.
Okay, fine. So
They're 13th place in the AFC. I think.
I know they suck.
So their season's done. But they do have Justin Herbert. He's great, isn't he, folks? So good.
Yeah, his overall record.
Have you seen the
is,
stadium? It looks so nice.
Yeah, not great.
And see all those fans there?
Stadium does look great on a nighttime primetime game.
That's great. Why don't you just wear your Chargers gear?
I said
okay.
the stadium.
On the
you
other
moron.
side, on the other side, we're going to get to the wrap. Okay. Also, Mark Ziegler will join us coming up at 5 p.m. in the 4 o'clock hour. Your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Hour 2, Jon and Jim from SoFi next.
Quick, John, who is John Cena?
Rapper.
This update is brought to you by Staples Stores. The Aztecs are back in action tonight at Viejas Arena, taking on Point Loma, coming off their win on Saturday night versus Cal in overtime. Pregame starts at 6. Tip-offs at 7 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Aztecs football season ended on Saturday night with a win over Fresno State, bringing the old oil can back to the Mesa, sending Brady Hoke out with a win. And NFL tonight, Monday Night Football, as the Bears take on the Vikings, 5:15 kickoff there in Minnesota. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season right now. Save 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/2. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2 of Jon and Jim. Pregame coverage outside Viejas Arena at 6. Hope to see a lot of Aztec fans tonight. Good city showdown, San Diego State, Point Loma. 2 programs for their level that have been premier, right?
I denounced the end of that open.
Well, first of all, you've been wearing Eagles gear within the last 1 year.
You're
No,
wearing green right now.
It was, yes, in November.
this is blue.
Looks green. I'm with
It
you.
looks
It's like
green.
midnight green. It's like the Eagles.
What they call it?
Green.
Well, you should know. You're
Midnight
This is
green.
literally blue.
It's midnight blue.
Am I colorblind? Because this is
Yes,
blue to
it's
me. Like
midnight
this is
green.
like dark blue.
People ask on the text line, who will you be rooting for this weekend? Niners, Eagles. Aaron, of course, is a diehard, passionate Eagles fan, as is her family.
I would not say she's diehard passionate, but
Well,
she's
her
a
family
big
is-
fan. Her dad is.
What's she gonna be wearing? Niners gear or Eagles gear?
No, she will not be wearing Niners gear.
Will you guys watch the game together? This is a great question. You can't kick her out. You're getting married in months, and you're like, "Hey, hon, I'll be back later."
I didn't kick her out. She already said that she's not going to be there.
What's she gonna do?
She's going to go to Claire's house.
And do what? Watch the Eagles Niners game?
Watch the game there. Yeah. She's already said that she's not. She's like, I'm just not going to be in the same room as you. So-
Brent?
You said that last year, but then she ended up she had to spy on you
Yeah.
with the teddy bear cam
And start
or
doing the
whatever
fly
it
Eagles
was.
fly chant, and then you like threw a baby camera at everyone, and threatened to like divorce everyone and never talk to people.
No, I didn't do that.
So you're not worried about the result this week because the last time this happened,
Dude.
this was a problem.
So have you
Yeah.
found out what movie you're gonna go watch?
In the
If it's a
second half.
blowout at halftime,
If it's 17-16 Eagles at the half, what movie will you watch? It's the Ni-
Thanksgiving.
with the Niners receiving the ball, second half kick. You're worried, aren't you?
Well, yeah, of course I'm worried.
Why? Niners are
Now,
favored.
now, the Eagles winning yesterday versus the Bills makes this game not that important for the Eagles.
Why? 2-game separation?
Yeah.
It's so important. Head to head, you only have a 1-game edge if you lose.
Yeah, but I feel like the Eagles, if you're looking at their schedule, the following week versus the Cowboys is much more important. Like,
How are you selling
This-
yourself that? Because if you beat
That's
the
true.
Niners here and get to 11-1 and lose to the Cowboys, then you're still a game clear of Dallas, right?
I'm just saying, like, if Philly lost versus the Bills yesterday, then this game is easily the most important game for both teams of your year. And the urgency will be at an all-time high for both teams. I don't feel like that urgency will be at an all-time high for the Eagles. Yeah, of course, they're still going to play, and they're going to play hard, and of course, they're going to try to win. But the urgency factor, if the Eagles lost versus the Bills yesterday, would have been greater than it is right
Okay,
now with a
I buy
2-game
that.
lead.
Here's the Eagles finish. Niners at home in Dallas, they've already beaten.
Credit to them, man. Their gauntlet schedule. They're
They've
5-0
gotten
in their gauntlet right now.
Well, they still got to go to Seattle.
Yeah,
Whatever that means.
Seattle, whatever.
Yeah. Giants at home win. Cardinals at home win. Giants on the road win. So, yeah, I mean, listen, even if the Eagles lose 2 games, let's say they lose to the Niners, let's say they lose to the Cowboys, they'd be 14-3 potentially at the end of the regular season. I don't know what tiebreakers are going to look like, but they're probably in decent shape.
That means the Cowboys or Niners can't lose again.
Correct.
And the Cowboys.
Plus, do the Cowboys even have the tiebreaker? Because they'd be 1-1 against the Eagles.
I'm sure they probably would just because of like maybe. Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
It would go to conference schedule.
The Cowboys, Eagles, and Niners aren't all going 14-3. We can agree on that.
And I've already like in my head thought to myself, the 2 seed might be a better path this year than the 1 seed.
Get out of here. How?
Because in the second round, you would still host a playoff game.
Correct.
And you would be taking on probably the Detroit Lions at home. If you are the 1 seed, yeah, you're hosting a playoff game, but guess who you're facing in the second round? Either the Eagles or the Cowboys.
Yeah, but you are the Eagles or the Cowboys.
But whoever does not win the East will be the top seed in the wild card, facing off against the number 1 seed if they win their game.
If they win on the road against a division winner, whoever that's going to be, right? In the South is like 6-11.
The Saints or the Atlanta.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
With that being said.
Yeah, but you get the bye. I don't know. This ain't baseball.
I know. I get it. I totally understand. The bye is important.
And home NFC Championship if you win 1 game.
I know. But a path to the NFC title game, to me, if you're the 2 seed,
might be easier.
Isn't that all that bad? And then hey, NFC title game, fine. You want to run it back You want to run it back this year in Philadelphia? Go right ahead. Fine.
Okay. And are you going to run back your quarterback, Josh? Whoever?
Sure. Give me
who was the quarterback?
Sam Darnold will probably finish that.
Who was the quarterback?
Josh Johnson.
And then
it turned into Christian McCaffrey because they didn't have. Then he got knocked out of the game. Josh Johnson did. So they had no
I thought
quarterbacks.
Christian McCaffrey was this great player. Can't even quarterback.
Can't even throw a football
game on the road. It was unbelievable.
So there's a lot of things. It's this game is.
Is that what you're going to say? If the Niners lose to the Eagles, you're going to be like 2 seeds better.
No,
anyway.
I'll be pissed.
And by the way, they're no lock for a 2 seed if they lose to the Eagles.
I know.
That's why I could see the Niners as favorite. Who needs it more? To your point, the Niners.
Who needs it more?
The Niners.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're playing great football. Not that the Eagles aren't playing good football at 10-1.
Eagles, man, they
just find ways.
Would you rather be a team that is dominant, like in games like the Niners and the Cowboys have been this year, or a team that just wins close games and not really great metrics and stats really aren't that great?
That's tough, man. That's really tough. But when I think about this is the NFL, not college. You need to win close games.
You do.
So there's something to be said for dealing with that. The resiliency, the adversity.
Yeah. Chiefs
win close games historically in the postseason.
And look what happened.
Overcome deficits.
Now, a lot of people have been saying, oh, the Eagles are just like last year's Vikings. First of all, they're way better than the Vikings last year. But what the Vikings did last year is similar to what the Eagles are doing this year, but winning a bunch of close games. The Eagles are far superior.
Yeah, difference is like Jalen Hurts has already been like a quarterback at a Super Bowl. And is in his mid-20s, and Kirk Cousins hasn't.
But winning close games is a good thing, except when you look at the analytics for the Eagles,
they're not as good as San Francisco.
They're not.
Or Dallas.
Yeah, they're not great. And in Dallas really hasn't beaten anybody good yet this year. So that's still a TBD on them. The Niners are susceptible to losses, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be interesting, man. I think it's between those 3 teams. Maybe your Lions, but
my Lions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't like the Lions. So all of this is a long way of saying Aaron will not be in the house for roughly 3.5-4 hours on Sunday.
Yeah. I hate it, man. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
It's only like one time a year.
It's like one time never a year. Because before last season, the last time the Eagles Niners played was like pre-pandemic.
So what do you hate? It's not like she's a big Kings fan and you're a big Warriors. I'm trying to say, like, it's not this thing that's happening.
We're not division rivals.
Yeah, 12 times a year. Now they happen to be the best 2 teams in the NFC the last couple of years.
I know, and the collision course for an NFC title game.
What do her parents have to say about this? They kind of despise you because of this?
No, they don't despise me at all.
Oh,
her dad actually we text about the Niners games and the Eagles games, and he's like, "Hey, you guys look great today." So yeah, I mean,
but he wants you to get smoked on Sunday, right?
Oh yeah, if he wants me to lose in the most epic way possible and cry myself to sleep and watch a movie at the second half.
Okay, so if the Niners win, Aaron will be cool with it. Life goes on.
Yes.
20 minutes later,
right?
if the Eagles win and she comes home, the first conversation is, hey, I walked Bentley. Hey, I made pasta.
There won't be one. There'll be a note on the counter at the movies.
At the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll call you later.
I'm at CM Punk's new show. Whatever that means.
I'm fine with that.
All right, coming up later this hour, your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Right now, let's get to this.
Are you surprised the 5-1 Aztecs aren't ranked?
Oh, have we talked about this?
Oh, we have, I think. I'm a little surprised, yeah, because your only loss of the year's to number 19 BYU on the road.
Right.
And the way that metrics are in college basketball are so dumb. Like their win over Cal on Saturday in overtime, I think can be viewed as like a bad win, right?
No, but I see what you're saying.
Because Cal's not a really good team. They're 2-5 on the year now.
They still ended up winning by 9. They were favored by 13. It
I
wasn't
know.
like they won by 1.
But
And the
still,
computers don't know.
like it's the dumbest thing ever. Winning games should be the only thing that matters.
Right.
But yet in college basketball, it's not.
Right.
Like not even close.
Correct.
So am I surprised? No. Do I really care that much? No, because I actually know how good this Aztec team is and can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think they're getting lucky here. I think they're a good basketball team with a player on the team that's in discussion right now for National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So with all that said, and knowing that Dutcher teams always get better as the season goes on, especially into March, I'm fine with it.
All right, you're fine with it. It is. Are we surprised the 5-1 Aztecs aren't ranked? I'm not surprised because I followed the sport and they were unranked last week, and one victory over Cal in overtime is probably not enough to woo enough voters over, but they should be ranked. Let's be clear. They should be. The metrics warrant a ranking. The fact that their only losses in Provo against BYU, they're 6-0, top 10 metrics, top 20 in the polls. They should be ranked, and they don't get the credit they deserve. That's just the story, really, of San Diego State's athletic programs. It's unbelievable how they don't get the respect that they should. It is what it is. It doesn't have any real important bearing. If they win 2 games this week, they'll be ranked. If they beat Point Loma tonight, if they win at UCSD on Friday, they'll be 7-1. They should be ranked, but they should be ranked right now. They should have been ranked last week, to be honest with you. Next question.
Should the Niners be favored this Sunday against the Eagles? Right now, it's Eagles by 2.5.
No, it's Niners by 2.5.
That's what I meant.
Yep.
I don't like it, honestly, because if I'm just looking at this objectively, I mean, if you're 10-1 and you're at home, you should be favored in every game, regardless of who you play, unless you play a team that's 11-0. Then I could understand that. The Niners are very good. The Eagles are it's not like the Eagles are
2 very good teams.
Like the Eagles are insanely good with a quarterback who makes the plays at the biggest moments of the game. He might have like yesterday, Jalen Hurts had a really bad game up until when he didn't. When he just said, okay, I'm going to throw a touchdown, 3 out of my next 4 passes, and I'm going to run it in for a couple scores. You're like, wait, what? His first half was horrible. I don't like it. I don't think the Niners should be favored, even though I'm a Niners fan. So yeah, I don't think they should be favored in this game. And if anything, if you want to call it even, but I don't like it.
To your earlier point, it's because of the beauty contest elements. The Niners, not only have they been winning here since the 3-game losing streak, they're blowing the doors off people, and it's the manner in which the Eagles are winning, plus the who needs it more factor, which applies to the NFL. You add it all up, it's the Niners by 2.5, which, by the way, means if this game was being played in Santa Clara, they would be favored by 8.5.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Because Eagles are getting 3 at home, so automatically neutral, you're talking 5.5. If they're home, another 3 points. So, I mean, the Niners would be something like probably 7-point home favorite in this game, maybe 7.5.
I would not be surprised if that line moves because of so many people taking the Eagles in this game.
It's going to be interesting. I mean,
that line has to move, right? It has to move.
The Niners will close a favorite. Maybe not a 2.5-point favorite, but they'll close a favorite.
But
1 point, 1.5.
But it's going to move, though, right? It has to. There's no way that the Eagles are underdog in this game and they're not getting hammered in Vegas.
I don't know. Or people see what you've been saying and what people have been saying, which is the Niners analytically are better than the Eagles are analytically, and they need it more. Therefore, they will win this football game, regardless of location, regardless of the team's 10-1 record that they're playing.
Vegas is waiting to see what your guys' plans were for the weekend before they give the real number.
That's right.
You know, I've watched every Eagles game because Erin watches the games and I watch it with her. But watching them play, they just somehow, some way win these games. And so for me, having them be underdogs at home, like, that's crazy.
Next question.
Will the Aztecs make a head coaching hire this week?
No.
Not this week.
Not this week. I'm sticking with what JD told us, middle December. So my date for when the new head coach will be hired, I'm going to go the second week of December, between the 10th and the 16th.
No, I'm going before them. Championship Saturday is Saturday.
Okay.
Is that December 2nd?
Sure.
They will absolutely, I could be wrong, but they will absolutely make a hire by December 8th. And I think that's late. So that's the week after championship week. What else would you be waiting for at that point? After championship week, there's only 4 teams left in the country. So what would you be waiting for? Saturday is the last day of the season.
I don't know, John. What do you know that I don't know, huh?
I know that he said he wants to have someone in place by the middle of December, but also the transfer portal opens December 4th. And that's something you probably are
Free
concerned with.
agency in college football.
That's what I'm saying. I think you want to have someone potentially as quickly as you can. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a hire this week.
Okay.
Wouldn't be surprised at all.
All right.
Keep refreshing. Who knows? Next question.
Will the Padres make any type of splash in free agency this year?
Yeah, I'm going to say no on that one. I don't see it. We've all been proven wrong before, for sure. Kind of thought the same thing last offseason. There's no way they're going to make a big splash. And they signed Xander Bogaerts. But times were different then. They came off an NLCS run. Peter Seidler. You know, the Manny Machado situation. Like, things were way different last offseason. Bob Melvin was still here. Things were way different last offseason than they are now. I could be wrong, obviously. Duh. I'm wrong a lot. I don't see it happening.
Now, are you saying, Brent, other than Ohtani? Because they'll bring in Ohtani. Now, if you consider Ohtani a splash
move to me, John, is a guy that's
barely a ripple.
that you pay over $100 million to.
Well, of course they're not doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, of course.
Yeah. Do you consider a $50 million contract a splash move? Because I don't.
It could be. Like, if it's this Jung-Hoo Lee character out of Korea who's a all-star caliber outfielder in the prime of his career, and he might get something like $50 million, that'll be perceived as a pretty big move.
Splash move should be designated as a guy that's signed for over $100 million, I feel like.
That's how you designate a splash move.
Yeah. Big time move.
Soto move?
Okay, maybe he's not. I'll go 75 plus million. 75. Because Sonny Gray, I think, is a splash move for the Cardinals today.
Well, that's not 100.
I know. That's why I just put it down. I put 75 because he signed a 3-year 75.
Jung-Hoo Lee is not a splash move. What about this Yamamoto character?
Yamamoto
He's
will
gonna
absolutely get over 100 million and be a splash move, yes.
What about
Cody Bellinger?
Nick Martinez coming back in a 2-year deal?
It's not a splash move, John.
Now, I don't think they're making a splash move.
No.
They're not. I mean, I think even if you move Juan Soto, there's no splashy moves.
I don't either.
There's going to be a lot of moves.
Yeah, the splashy move for
Juan
them is
Soto.
trading away one of the best hitters in baseball.
Yeah, that would be very splashy for the team that trades for him.
Right.
Yeah, but no, I'm with you. $100 million, get out of here. I'd be surprised. You said it yesterday at first. I'm like, no, you're wrong. You said, I don't think they'll make a $30 million signing of a player this offseason. I'm like, no, you're crazy. And then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah.
1 or 2 year deals under that.
Yeah. I don't see any long-term type of contracts being handed out by the Padres this offseason. You're going to see trades, cutting payroll, probably getting rid of Juan Soto to free up room to go out and find another Seth Lugo at $7.5 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
To find another Michael Wacha that you could sign and give him a that option year, right? So if he has a bad year, he opts back in. If he has a good year, he opts out to make more money, like Michael Wacha is going to do this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Nick Martinez, right? 1 year, $10 million for Nick Martinez, even though he signed a 2-year, 26, or weird. It's a weird contract, but essentially, when he opted out, it turned into a 1 year, $10 million deal for Nick Martinez.
By the way, who even cares how splashy it is? I mean, it sells tickets, it draws interest, but it hasn't brought the ultimate prize, and they've been splashy as hell.
Yeah, they're not going to have problems selling tickets. I feel like it won't be like this past year, no doubt about it. It will not be 3 point whatever million they had, 3.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be that. You can get close to 3. I don't think you're going to get over 3 million fans this upcoming season. That's not a bad thing at all. Getting 2.6, 2.7 million fans next year at Petco's would be amazing. But I don't think they're going to like all of a sudden you're going to go to games and it's empty seats like back in like 2016.
No, I agree with you. I do. All right, I want to get back to the San Diego State coaching search in football on the other side, but Michael wants to weigh in before we go to break. Plus, we have a great giveaway coming up this hour. Your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. But Michael, thanks for calling in. Happy holidays, and you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, happy holidays to you guys. I hope Thanksgiving treated everybody good there.
You as well.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I was just wanting to talk real quick about the coaching staff for the Aztecs football. I'm glad Brady won his last game. I'm glad he went out like that with a winner. I would love to see Tony White as the head coach. And I know with Danny Gonzalez being fired at New Mexico, that's kind of like a new wrinkle. I would love to have him as defensive coordinator. And possibly maybe Brian Harsons as an offensive coordinator. I don't know if that's crazy thinking or not. I don't know. But we do have some other quality coaches, like Doug Deacon. I like him a lot for special teams, and Mike Goff for offensive line. But that's just some of my ideas. But thank you so much, guys, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Michael, and Jim does as well. Listen, we'll react to that on the other side. I don't see Brian Harsin as a coordinator. He's a potential head coaching candidate. I'd be surprised if Brian Harsin was a coordinator at the Group of 5 level. But Tony White, I think, is intriguing, and pairing him with a former, Kurt Maddox absolutely could remain as your defensive coordinator. San Diego State's going to be running the 3-3-5 in the future, are they not? We'll get into it on the other side. Plus, your chance to win that 4-pack of tickets that we have for you coming up to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration later this hour. Mark Ziegler will join the show at 5, but the very latest on San Diego State's coaching search next. Hey guys, it's Shave Frizz. The year is almost over and you might need cash for the holidays, or maybe you want to be credit card debt free for the new year. Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. You've got a ton of equity in your home, and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash. You can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use that money to pay off all your credit cards. San Diego is one of the most expensive cities in the country to live in. Pay off personal loans. Maybe you want to start a home improvement project. Add solar panels. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact, so your 3% rate is protected. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. So you can get your money super fast. Holiday cash, you need it potentially. Or maybe you want to pay off those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends. Call Loan Pronto now. The number to call, 619-207-4336. Write this down, 619-207-4336, or go to loanpronto.com. Again, it's 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval. All right, JD Gacho, thank you for the super chat. Jim has left to go sneeze or blow his nose or something. But he's back. JD Gacho, thank you for the super. Guys, if you're here, please subscribe. If you're here, thank you for your support of the channel. We really do appreciate super chats. We get to all of them at breaks. Like these from JD Gacho, who says, Jim singing Fly Eagles Fly. Count on it. Listen, Jim was roasted a year ago for wearing Eagles garb in Philadelphia against the whom? Commanders.
Washington Commanders.
I think he's learned his lesson, would be my guess.
By the way, those pictures have been like burned.
Have they? I still have them on my phone, thankfully.
Dude, we had a picture of us, and it just was.
It's gone. I'll see if I can find it.
It's gone.
So thank you, JD Gatcha, for the super. There's another super from JD Gatcha that just rolled in. Who gets fired first, Brandon Staley or George
Klokov?
Exactly.
George Klokov doesn't have a job.
I know. Like he's just like going through the motions. But that's interesting. Technically, who gets fired first? Probably Staley. Because I want to say George is technically going to be in his job until at least next summer because you got Pac-12 basketball.
The Pac-12 championship trophy on Saturday?
Friday night.
Friday night?
Probably. That's super awkward. Super awkward. That's a really good question, JD Gotcha. Thank you for the super chats, JD Gotcha. Thank you guys for hanging out. Whether you're here live or on replay, please subscribe here on content for San Diego sports fans. Thank you for the super chats and the super thanks. If you're watching on replay, we'll be back momentarily. Thanks, guys.
All right, this update's brought to you by Staples Stores. Aztecs basketball tonight returns to the Mesa. 7 p.m. tip-off. 6 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts as the Aztecs take on Point Loma, coming off their win versus Cal on Saturday night in overtime. Aztecs football season is now in the books. They finished 4-8, but they did finish with a win versus Fresno State on Saturday, getting back the old oil can to come back to the Mesa. What are you laughing at?
This Texas A&M video you just showed me.
Oh yeah, it's very weird.
Super weird.
Super weird. Weird energy all around. NFL tonight, Monday Night Football, Bears and Vikings, 5:15 kickoff there. And Frank Wright was fired today after a 1-10 start to his Carolina Panther career. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/2. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples. What are you doing?
All right. Hold on. I got to turn my mic off. Mike, nobody cares about this, but whatever. There's a new head coach at Texas A&M, and Texas A&M is home of the 12th man, right? 100,000 seats, crazy culture of football there for forever. They sway back and forth in the stands. They lock arms with each other and sway back and forth during the game, home of the 12th man. So they introduced their new head coach today, and during the press conference, everyone locks arms on the podium, like Mike Elko, his family, like the athletic director and president, and then everyone at the press conference. Like that would be like if we attended a Padres press conference and they introduced Mike Schilt and me and Jim and like everyone
Start
at
swaying
like
back and forth.
competing radio stations. We all locked arms. We were swaying back. Like me, you, and Ben Fadden were just swaying back and forth. Locking up. Mike Schilt is with like AJ Preller. We're just swaying back and forth, singing songs.
Like, come here, guys. Come over here.
That's
Give me a hug.
super weird.
It's very weird. It's like a weird cultish type of vibe. Like at
The
A&M.
replies are so funny.
Dude, it's
First
ridiculous.
reply, this is why you don't win anything.
I know.
WTF is this? He looks miserable. I mean, it's just funny.
He's like, what have
Like,
I got myself into?
I have a feeling when San Diego State makes this hire, that's not going to happen.
JD, for the love of God, please don't have everyone, lock arms at the press conference and start swaying back and
dude,
forth and singing the fight song.
I get it. There's some passion. I mean, people are into it.
College football is
It's crazy.
and just in certain areas of the country,
South.
it means more.
You sound like the SEC ads. I think it's SEC. It just means more. That's what they say.
I mean, it literally does, though. That's the thing. Like in Alabama today, is anybody talking about anything?
I don't think they're talking Mike Schilt.
Anything other than the crazy Alabama win over Auburn and how they deserve to be in the college football playoff today?
Great point.
Like, no. No one cares about the NFL there. No one cares about any baseball or basketball,
Right.
NBA, soccer, whatever you want to say.
365 Alabama.
That area of the country, it is SEC football all the time.
All right, here's the latest when it comes to San Diego State. We touched on it earlier with Darnay Tripp. You've got 3 candidates that have been reportedly connected to San Diego State. There could be 17 more. We have no idea. But these have been reported. Tony White, former coach at San Diego State for 9 years, currently defensive coordinator at Nebraska, top 20 scoring defense this past year. You've got Brennan Marion, offensive coordinator, 36 years of age at UNLV. They just capped off a 9-3 regular season, top 25 scoring offense. His first year as a play caller at the FBS level, an amazing year. They're in the Mountain West Championship game this week against Boise State. Then you have Ken Niumatalolo. Don't ask Jim to say that.
Ken Niumatalolo?
Not terrible. And you did really good. That was good.
Okay, I feel a little better about that.
Former Navy head coach, had an amazing 10-year run. Last 3 years were not good at all. And he's been out, I think, for a season and has West Coast ties.
I'm going to go no on that one because the potential of the triple option then coming to San Diego State.
I don't see that.
Dude,
I don't think they're running the triple option in San Diego State.
No.
They're not running the triple option. No. So those are the 3 reported candidates, but that doesn't mean there aren't, like I just said, 20 more.
Let me ask you this.
Please.
Do you think it matters at all if the next head coach has any ties to San Diego or not?
San Diego or San Diego State?
Anything related to San Diego.
No, not particularly. But I don't think it hurts.
Doesn't hurt.
There could be advantages.
Doesn't hurt. Right, you're right.
Could be advantages.
Could be.
You can recruit, the county.
Like my point being, going out and getting former Aztecs, former coaches on the staff. Like, does it have to be that route?
No, absolutely not. JD said that. I think we asked him that very question. He said, no, does not have to be that. Could be, doesn't have to be. Not a prerequisite.
What would you prefer? That route or a totally, fresh blood, fresh person in the building, no ties to San Diego State at all, but was at a program that, succeeded and is viewed as the hot guy has no ties at all to San Diego or San Diego State?
See, I can't answer it because it's all contingent on the literal exact person.
Okay.
Because if you told me, making it up, it's Duke's offensive coordinator. Well, we've never heard of Duke's offensive coordinator. Might be the greatest hire in the history of the world. Might not. So I can't tell you right now that that's a better hire than Tony White or a better hire than David Shaw or a better hire than Dino Babers.
I like that name, Dino Babers.
It's a good name.
Hey,
but so I can't answer that question. I think this idea that, hey, we got to get really good on offense, therefore we got to lean away from anything we've accomplished over the last 20 years is a little bit misguided for me. Like, this is the best 15-year run in San Diego State modern football history since Don Coryell. Division I history, this is the best run. You want to run away from that? I get it. You want to get better on offense. Completely fair. Absolutely. They need to. But can't you get better on offense and potentially do it with someone with ties to the program is my question.
Would you also agree that this last decade, notwithstanding the last 2 years, has the way of college football, how it is now, has completely changed? Like, it's not like it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, definitely because of like NIL and transfer portal, more so than the way the game is played. Like, I still see dominant defenses having success. Let me give you an example. Michigan.
Yeah.
Let me give you another. Georgia.
I'm not saying about how the game is being played on the field.
Those aren't high octane offenses.
I'm talking about how the game is being played off the field is different. And San Diego State needs to get into that like lane and not push back against it.
I don't think there's really where's the pushback? You're saying from the administration?
I think the one thing I could say about Brady that he definitely was up against it all. Like, you could hear it when he talked about NIL.
Well, that's fair, but I'm saying
transfer portal. Like, you need to have somebody that embraces that and views that as the way that the game is going and the way that college football is going, and take that as an opportunity and view it as a positive.
I agree, but can that still be someone with San Diego State ties? How do we know Tony White views NIL and transfer portal like Brady Hoke?
I don't know.
Have we talked to Tony? He's 44 years of age. He's coaching in Nebraska. I have a feel that NIL and transfer portal are probably a big way of the world in the Big Ten at Nebraska. Now, again, Nebraska,
no,
or Texas A&M or Michigan State. Like, this is a different world.
Could Tony White bring Brock Purdy's brother here?
Because he's the Nebraska quarterback?
I don't know if he's good. Is he good?
No, I don't think so, because their offense was terrible.
Such a back-breaking interception versus Iowa.
Left.
It was so bad.
They kept him out of a bowl game.
Yeah, it was horrible. And it was such an Iowa-Nebraska game. Right.
It was like 10-10.
It's like 10-10, fourth quarter.
The over-under was 25, and it hit the under.
13-10 was the final.
Yeah.
And now Iowa is going to get smoked by Michigan in the Big Ten title.
And by smoked, you mean like they'll lose 21-0. Because that's just how those games are played. Something like that. Yeah, probably.
But they're not going to win.
All right. So you don't have, your suggestion is embrace NIL and transfer portal, potentially lean away from San Diego State ties because potentially.
No. I'm not saying that that's the route they should go. I'm just asking, like, is that something that you would prefer them to do or not?
No, I wouldn't prefer.
Or do you not even care?
Either? No, I care greatly.
Oh, I know you
but
do.
I don't prefer.
This is your life for the next week and a half.
But I don't prefer they lean away from San Diego State ties. Like, that to me doesn't make sense. What I prefer is they hire the best potential head coach. If that's someone with San Diego State ties, amazing. If it's someone with ties to Duke, great. But I prefer they hire the best head coach, regardless of whether they came up as a defensive or offensive coach.
Man, it's gonna be fascinating because there's not one singular route that you could, like, there's not like a coaching, like, there's not four candidates here like with the Padres. Like, it was like, oh, is it Schultz, Flaherty, Benji Gill, or now Phil Nevin? Right? Those are the four.
Yeah, we haven't heard that, right?
With this, we know of three.
Could be another 10.
But exactly, there could be another 10, maybe more, maybe less.
Yep.
But it's just all different types of coaches, which makes this, I think, if you're an Aztecs fan, kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, because you got a San Diego State tie with Tony White, an offensive tie with Brennan Marion.
Yeah.
A former head coach and Navy's head coach.
Yep.
And those are just the first three we've heard in terms of been
completely different, by the way. All three of them.
I agree.
Which is kind of refreshing. It's nice.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned,
as we like to say. On the other side, your chance to win a great giveaway, a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Who wants those tickets? First two callers will be contestants for Trainwreck Radio. That is trivia. You need to call right now if you want a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. 844-570-1360. This is going on right now, by the way, at SeaWorld. The number to call, 844-570-1360. A free 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld. Like, what is that worth? That's a really good prize.
A lot of money.
844-570-1360. Call right now. First two callers will be our contestants. Trainwreck Radio. That's trivia. That's next. Mark Ziegler joins us at 5. Stay with us. It's Jon and Jim. All right, Trainwreck Radio on the other side. Mark Ziegler joins us at 5 p.m. Stay with us. All right, Mark Ziegler on the Aztecs not being ranked on their win in San Juan Capistrano on Saturday on tonight's game against Point Loma. Will you be there tonight, Jim?
No, John.
Okay, you won't be there tonight. Sorry. Pre-game coverage at 6 outside Viejas Arena. Me and Ben Fletcher. How can I be here and at Viejas Arena?
It's a great question that you ask.
And the way I can do that is by leaving here at 5:15.
Yeah, ditching the show. It's fine.
For the show. How else can I do pre? Here's the thing. We could do the radio show from outside Viejas Arena, but you, as the executive producer of Sports Wrap with NBC7, have said that we have to be in studio to accomplish that show.
Yes.
Something has to give.
I'm fine with staying in studio. It's okay.
Mark Ziegler, 5 p.m. Let's get to this.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Mark and Dennis. Mark, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with John.
All right, that's smart,
Okay.
Mark.
Dennis, you get me, okay?
All right.
All right.
Let's do this.
Let's do this, Dennis. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys, tonight my Bears travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings on Monday Night Football. Today's question: can you name any of the last 10 head coaches in Vikings franchise history?
Oh my God.
So we're looking for
It's a layup.
any of the last 10 Vikings head coaches in
10?
franchise history. Yes.
Okay. All right. Dennis, my guy, you were up first. What was your first guess? And you do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Last 10 coaches from the Vikings?
Yeah.
Does that so Kevin O'Connell?
Is he in the last 10?
There you go.
Yes, he is.
There we go. Good job. Mark, you're up next. What is your first guess? And you have your lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll go with Mike Zimmer.
Mike Zimmer,
Wow.
the previous head coach, I want to say.
Blast from the past.
Yeah.
He was the
not,
previous head coach?
not that far, not
Okay.
that long ago.
And by past, I mean like 3 years ago.
Yep, not that long ago. Dennis, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
Wait, what years? Childress.
Childress?
Childress?
Childress.
Brad?
Childress, correct.
Yeah, there we
Well
go. Mark, you're up next. What's your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
Mike Tice.
Mike
Mike
Tice.
Tice or Mike Tyson? Mike Tice,
Mike Tice
is on the list.
Very good guess. Dennis, you're up next. Go 3 for 3. What's your final guess? You do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer.
Zimmer's off the list.
Zimmer's off the list.
He's off the list.
Yeah.
The dude with the lady's name. Leslie.
Leslie Frazier, you said?
Yes.
Leslie Frazier on the list.
Very good.
You're a hardcore Vikings fan.
Hardcore.
Sometimes,
wow.
sometimes you got to talk yourself through it.
Wow.
Like you can see the people in your head, that you just got to talk yourself through it.
No doubt.
Mark, final guess. What do you got? And you do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
I was saving this one for last, hoping no one would take it. Dennis Green.
We let him off the hook.
Wow. Look at you guys.
That was my guess. I was just going to use it. Hey, Dennis, it's your name. Dennis Green.
Wow.
We let him off the hook. All right. Now we're going to overtime. The greatest Vikings fans in the history of the world. Brent,
Yes.
what is the question and rules of overtime?
All right, the way overtime is going to work is I'm going to ask you a question. When I'm done asking the question, you're going to yell out the name of your partner today, either John or Jim, and don't yell out the answer. Whoever yells out the name of their partner first, you are going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. Do you guys got it?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Okay, today's overtime question. Who is the current Bears head coach?
John.
I heard John.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Eberflus.
Eberflus for the win. Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good enough.
guess.
because
That's good
That's
guess.
close enough.
That's
I
good
mean,
guess.
come on. Like, who would even
Eberflus.
know that?
Yeah, that's good guess. Good
Well
job.
done.
Good. Well done.
Mark, well played. Didn't even need a lifeline. You've won a 4-pack of tickets to see SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Who else is on this list before I tell you about the prize?
Well, it turns out there's only had 10 coaches to start. So
In the
first,
history of the franchise.
yes. So they had Norm Van Brocklin, Bud Grant, Lee Stecker, Bud Grant again, Jerry Burns, Denny Green, Mike Tice, Brad Childress, Leslie Frazier, Mike Zimmer, and then Kevin O'Connell.
Well, congratulations, Mark. You've got this 4-pack of tickets where the wonders of the sea meet the joy of Christmas at SeaWorld San Diego Christmas celebration. From underwater discoveries to San Diego's largest Christmas tree, the Sky Tower Tree of Lights. Experience thrilling rides to Mrs. Claus Christmas Parade, real reindeer and photos of Santa. Taste heartwarming traditions and sing along to a stocking full of soul featuring America's Got Talent finalist Brian Cheatham. Am I saying that right? It's a holiday celebration filled with wondrous moments only at SeaWorld San Diego, November 17th through January 7th. Congratulations, Mark. You've got that 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. On the other side, Mark Ziegler, Aztecs tonight take on Point Loma. They remain unranked. They're 5-1 overall. What did he learn about San Diego State this past weekend in San Juan Capistrano in an overtime victory against the Cal Golden Bears? We'll talk some Aztec basketball with Mark Ziegler on the other side to kick off hour 3 of Jon and Jim. That's next. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. We've been telling you for months about our friends over at Windmill Farms, the college area's natural grocer. Their family, Trevor, his mom, they've been in the grocery business for over 20 years. I'll be over there tomorrow picking up lunch. This is your spot during your work week. If you're looking for lunch, centrally located in San Diego, pick up a sandwich card and get a sandwich from their deli because every 8th sandwich is free with the sandwich card. They've got an amazing selection of sandwiches to choose from. They keep their prices incredibly low. They use only the freshest, highest quality ingredients. It's a great spot for lunch. It's also a great spot for your weekends. Get ready for your tailgating needs, your game day needs. Maybe you're watching games at home. Maybe you're out and about in Southern California. Windmill Farms has everything that you could possibly need for your game days. Organic farm fresh produce and meats, amazing craft beer and kombucha. The deli I've been telling you about, centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard, across the freeway from Montezuma Mesa. They've been family-owned, serving San Diegans for over 20 years, supporting local businesses like Harris Ranch, Mr. G's Salsa. And here's the thing, you don't have to live or work near Del Cerro because you can find them on Instacart as well, have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep. Weekly specials, you can see those at windmillfarmsmarket.com. View all of their specials every single week at windmillfarmsmarket.com. I'll be over there tomorrow for lunch. Hope to see you over there at some point this week. And a reminder to shop local, shop at Windmill Farms.
This update's brought to you by Staples Stores. Aztecs back in action tonight at Viejas Arena versus Point Loma. Our pregame starts at 6. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Aztecs football went out with a win to end their season on Saturday versus Fresno State, bringing the old oil can back to the Mesa, sending Brady Hoke out with a win in his final coaching game of his career. And NFL tonight, Monday Night Football between the Bears and the Vikings. We're about 15 minutes away from kickoff there in Minnesota. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/2. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. We've got Aztec pregame coverage beginning at 6 p.m. outside Viejas Arena. Aztecs and Point Loma, couple of really good programs in their division. San Diego State, of course, in a national championship game a year ago. Point Loma was in a national championship game back in 2018 or 2019. They'll square off tonight at Viejas, the first time meeting against each other in over a decade. Let's talk San Diego State hoops right now with Mark Ziegler, who does a great job covering Aztecs men's basketball for the Union Tribune. He's back with us right now. Jon and Jim. So, Mark, I appreciate it. I know you've been tweeting a little bit about it today. We've been touching on it as well. It's only November. It's only polling for whatever it's worth. But in your opinion, why is it that the 5-1 Aztecs with a lone loss in Provo against BYU are not ranked?
I think they're a little bit forgotten. I think, what happens with a lot of voters is you got your preseason rankings and then you see what happens the first couple of weeks. And, most teams don't take losses the first week because they don't play anybody. San Diego State obviously challenges itself with the schedule, goes up to Provo where I don't care who you are. I mean, top 5 teams probably would lose there. And they lose a game that we're in favor to win, and they get dumped out of the rankings. And I think everyone just kind of think, well, they're not as good as they thought they were. We thought they were. They lost to an unranked team. Just don't understand what it's all about to go to Provo, and don't understand altitude at all. And so I think they just got a little bit forgotten. And then, there's new flavors of the month after last week with Feast Week, where you have a lot of these tournaments and you have teams that people didn't expect to do well, and they just move ahead of them. I mean, they're right there. They're at 27. And I think you could argue that they should be somewhere in the low 20s. So they're really only maybe 3 or 4 spots below where they should be. But they're not in the top 25, and fans get upset.
Mark, looking at the on the court stuff with the Aztecs right now, Jaden Ledee is averaging, 34 plus minutes a game. Reese Waters is up there in minutes played. I know they're not the deepest team. They're not even close to as deep as they were last year, but is this sustainable for guys like Reese Waters? I mean, maybe yes for Jaden Ledee because he's just different, but these are a lot of minutes for these guys.
Yeah, you just hit on the number one, to me at least, the number one issue of this team going forward this season. I wrote a little bit about it before the game at Cal. It's probably sustainable in November and December for 2 reasons. They have no more altitude games, is number one. And number 2, it's still early in the season. But as the season drags on and they go to altitude 5 times the Mountain West season, starting January 13th at New Mexico, and then over the next month they're going to play there 4 more times in altitude. When you get into those altitude games, they're not going to win those with basically a 6-man rotation. It's just not going to happen. The physics or the biomechanics the aerobics, whatever you want to call it, just don't pencil out. But the other issue is when you get into late February and early March, are you going to have a tired team? I mean, you saw last year they stuck to a 9-man rotation. They were incredibly healthy. I mean, they lost, I think, 3 games among those 9 players all season, and 2 of them were precautionary holdouts against a Division III opponent. So they really not lost nothing, and they were really fresh in March. And you just saw it in the tournament. They were just fresher than other teams. They wore them down. They were fresher late in games, and they were able to make sort of their move in the last 10 minutes of games and win them. This team's not going to be able to do that if they keep playing that. And Coach Brian Dutcher knows that, but it's going to take time to get that bench going. And it's just a question of when the bench gets good enough to give them more minutes. It's not there right now.
Do you think the last 2 games where they've shown great resiliency and resolve, and Mark Ziegler's with us right now, and Jon and Jim, and they've won in overtime against Pac-12 opponents, do you think the blown late leads have to do with the minutes, or does it have to do with something else that you've seen, whether it was the last 10 minutes at San Juan Capistrano or maybe the last 5 minutes or so against Washington and Vegas?
Well, if they had the same problem in both games, you could point to that one tactical issue, but these were really different issues. The issue against Washington was, I mean, people point to the press break, and yeah, they had a couple issues in the press break, but the real issue was they couldn't stop anybody. I mean, they could not stop them. They scored in 10 of their final 11 possessions of regulation. Washington did, and that's unheard of for San Diego State defense. And so, that was the issue there. Against Cal, the issue was less offense because Cal didn't score the final minute 47 and really wasn't scoring at that high of a clip over the final 5-10 minutes. Is that San Diego State couldn't make a basket? I mean, they had 0 baskets the last 11 and a half minutes, and I don't know if they had a point over the last 6 minutes. And so that's 0-16 to close regulation. That was the problem there. So they're different problems, and I think that points more to the fatigue factor in legs. And it's not like really noticeable. It's not like they get their hands on their hips, they're huffing and puffing. These guys are in great shape. It's more just a little bit here and there. They play defense. They make such high demands on defense, and they're trying to be that much more active on offense that you just back off 2%, and you can see a noticeable difference in the scoring either way. So I think that's definitely pointing to it. I mean, I don't know if there's any way to really know, but that's to me the number one suspect.
Who on the bench that isn't playing right now could maybe make a difference later in this season?
Well, I think there's a few guys that could. I think they all could really help. You have Darian Trammell, who played 31 minutes, and if he continues to come off the bench, okay, now you have and he gets back to what he can be. He's still not 100% with that shoulder, and it's going to take a few more weeks, maybe months, to get back there. It's been really slow. But if he gets back to something close to normal, that's a really good piece to have off the bench, and that's 30 minutes off the bench. So that's big, and his minutes will go up, obviously. Miles Bird can give him something. He's a very dynamic player, but he's just very young. This is basically his true freshman season. He barely played last year. He came to camps when he was 17. And so he's very young, and he's going to be up and down all season. Miles Heide is a true freshman big, which you almost don't see anywhere in Division I. And he's done great for a true freshman big, but he's still a true freshman big, and he'll make progress slowly. And I think he can give him some help as well. And Jay Powell is kind of the mysterious one. He's a fifth-year senior. He's played a lot of basketball, but he has not played basketball at this level. And they have not, they didn't back off of their schedule. So he just jumped into this high level of basketball. And I think as he gets more comfortable, you'll start seeing more from him. Every game he gets a little bit better out there. You start seeing maybe a really nice pass in this last game. You start seeing a little bit more. So I think all 4 of those guys could give him something, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough in the next month, let's say, to make that much of a difference with the rotations.
Mark Ziegler's with us right now on Jon and Jim. Now, Mark, I typically concern myself with any opponent that San Diego State is playing. It could make a case for that opponent. They typically schedule, high-level opponents in the non-conference. What do you make it tonight? Now, Point Loma a year ago was incredible. They've lost a ton from that team. They've been really good since going to D1 about a decade ago. I mean, does Point Loma pose a serious challenge or threat here tonight or not?
It all depends on how San Diego State plays. If they play anything close to the way they have in the last couple of weeks, no. They'll just outscore them. They'll just run right by them. They'll out physical them. And this is going to be a really tired Point Loma team. You think San Diego State might be a little fatigued from their legs. Justin Downer, new coach, has had a really, really short bench, and he's got like 4 or 5 guys averaging over 30 minutes, and they played back-to-back games, including one in overtime in Idaho on Friday and Saturday, and then flew back yesterday. And they've been doing that all season with starters just pretty much staying on the floor most of the game, and so they're going to be exhausted. And then you add the athleticism, and so I think, in a normal circumstance, I think they could have put up a little bit of fight because they're a very good team. They're very disciplined. They run good stuff, and they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. And San Diego State's kind of look at this. It's hard to get up for a game like this if you're the Division I team. But they're not a bad team. Put it this way: they played an exhibition. They played Cal State San Marcos, and Point Loma went and beat Cal State San Marcos, I think, at San Marcos. So they're a better opponent than that, and San Marcos gave them some problems for the better part of a half.
Mark, any updates on the coaching search for San Diego State, the football team?
I haven't heard much. They've kept it really close to the vest, as they probably should. I think, the big internal debate is, do you want to go try to find a young hot shot coordinator, because that's what everyone's asking for, that's what everyone's demanding. They'll help sell tickets, make things more exciting, a really wide open offense? Or do you go with a tried and true coach who knows how to coach a team and run an organization, almost like a CEO, and might be a little bit older and would hire an offensive coordinator? I think that's the big internal debate. I don't know what the answer is going to be on that. I think there's a risk, certainly, if you go get a young hotshot coordinator, on 2 fronts. Number one, probably that person has not been a head coach before, at least not at this level. Is probably young, a little bit inexperienced in running a big program. And number two, if they are really good and San Diego State's offense completely does a 180 and turns around and is really good, they're going to get snapped up by a power conference program. They're going to be gone, and you're going to be back at square one. So I think those are the risks, because I know it's exciting, sexy hire to go get somebody like that. But I think the safer move and the more reasoned move might be to go get a CEO and let the CEO hire a offensive coordinator.
Mark, great stuff. Always appreciate it. We're looking forward to tonight. I'll see you down there in the next 60 or 90 minutes. And thanks for hopping on as always.
All right.
All right. Appreciate it. Mark Ziegler does a great job covering San Diego State men's basketball primarily, and other things, obviously, for the Union Tribune. All right. Speaking of the Aztecs, let's get to this, Jim.
Okay.
You like that? Oh. John
Ted
Schaefer
sounds
with the
weird.
call.
Who's that guy?
I want to make sure to give the credit. Sound like Jonathan Rifkin. All right, so a couple of things this weekend. Aztecs football, really good win. Their best win. And a really good win against Fresno State at 8-1 this year. What happened to Fresno State? They lost their last 3 games. Aztecs, at times they looked dominant. Saturday night, I watched the entire game. And then Aztecs basketball found a way to get to 5-1. Cal closed on a 9-0 run, but San Diego State won in overtime. Which victory impressed you more this weekend? Aztecs football or Aztecs basketball?
I'm gonna go with Aztecs football.
I agree.
I think I even tweeted it out. It was the most inspired football they played all year.
They played really well.
They played their best game of the season by far. Defense, offense, running the football. Jalen Maiden didn't make mistakes. That 70-yard touchdown run was awesome. For me, it could have been very easy if you're a part of that football team to maybe just be like, what's the point? Now I get it. There was a lot to play for, which I think in the end helped them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Brady
seniors rivalry game, final game.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
So that definitely was a boost, but still you can let your, natural, things take place where you're like,
you could just say it's a final game.
It's a final game. Who cares? We're 3-8.
Right. Doesn't matter if we win or lose.
But take away the record, that team did not look like a 3-8 football team on Saturday night.
Not on Saturday. And then Reese Waters, we talk about the importance of the portal in college sports. Reese Waters is a complete revelation. This guy has been unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's been in double figures 6 consecutive games, career high 24, perfect from the line on Saturday. They're nowhere close to winning this game on Saturday without Reese Waters. He has just fit in beautifully for San Diego State through 6 games.
Yeah, he's a pure scorer. Defense is always going to be the, thing that's going to be worked on the most, especially with people in their first year at San Diego State.
Yeah.
But there's definitely effort on the defensive end from Reese Waters. That's why he's playing a lot.
Yeah, he's big. He's physical.
But his scoring, he is so effortless.
Yeah, that mid-range game, he gets off a clean shot from 15, 16 feet out. It's going in.
It doesn't look like he's using a lot of effort to score.
Yeah, you're right.
Sometimes
Effortless look.
Effortless looks. Exactly.
Mhm.
It's very smooth. When you need a bucket, give me a 15-footer, baseline jumper, corner. He can do it all.
And Jaden's that same way. That 15-foot jump shot from Jaden Ledee has been deadly. He's got to be hitting that 70% of the time.
I mean, every time I listen to the radio or watch the game on TV and he's shooting a mid-range jumper, it
goes in.
Almost automatic.
Reese Waters, the same thing.
Yeah.
Windmill Farms, the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered for all your game day needs. Organic farm fresh produce and meats, amazing craft beer and kombucha, a full deli with an award-winning sandwich selection, centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard. I'll be over there tomorrow. Find their weekly specials at windmillfarmsmarket.com. Family owned for over 20 years. Shop local, shop at Windmill Farms. The latest on the Padres heading into the winter meetings in less than a week, including what's happening right now in the starting pitching market, how it's impacting the Padres. What's the latest with Juan Soto's future as well? That's next on Jon and Jim.
All right, MLB Hot Stove is definitely heating up. When are the Padres going to make a move? We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start in the NFL. Monday Night Football underway in Minnesota. Scoreless game with about 8:30 left in the first quarter there between the Vikings and the Bears. Other NFL news today, Frank Wright, he was 1-10 as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Well, he's not the head coach anymore as he got fired today. Aztecs basketball tonight versus Point Loma. 6 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. 7 p.m. is tip-off at Viejas with the Aztecs taking on Point Loma. And the Aztecs football team, their season is over, but they finished with a win, taking out Fresno State on Saturday night, bringing back the old oil can to the Mesa and sending out Brady Hoke and his coaching career with a win. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season right now. Save 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/2. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Jon is now on his way to Viejas Arena. Hi, Jon. Hi. I know you're listening in the car. Getting ready to call the Aztecs basketball game tonight. Pregame starts at 6 p.m. outside of Viejas Arena with Fletch and Jon. And of course, you can listen to the game right here on San Diego Sports 760 starting at 7 p.m. with Ted Leitner back on the call there. And, you know, we mentioned before the break about the Padres and what they're going to do this offseason and the needs for them and when will they start making moves and all of that. In the every day that passes, it feels like another pitcher that potentially the Padres could use is off the board. But more importantly, we're seeing the market for pitching. We're seeing how much it's costing for pitching. Sonny Gray just got a 3-year, $75 million deal from the Cardinals today. Do you see the Padres going out and spending $75 million on a starting pitcher? First off, I don't even know of any starting pitcher besides Blake Snell right now in the open market that isn't signed, is worth over $75 million. Yes, hi, Jon. He just texted me. Hi. I'm sending a waving emoji back to you. You know, Kenta Maeda signed a 2-year, $24 million deal with the Tigers. That's $12 million a year. Math. Lance Lynn signed a contract
over $10 million with, I believe, over $10 million. Don't quote me on that. You also have other pitchers signing $12 million here. My point is, if you think you're going to get a quality starter for anything less than $10 million a year, I highly doubt that. I just do. And it's now look, can Seth Lugo return? Would you want Seth Lugo back, but him making 17, 18 million a year? I'd have to think about that long and hard because they don't have any pitching, and he was really good last year for the Padres. But, that was his first year being a true full-time starter in the bigs. And it was a great deal because of the production that you got out of him. And he was only making $7.5 million a year. I don't know if I would go that high for Seth Lugo. Nick Martinez, he opted out. He's got Scott Boras as his new agent. He's going to want between, 10 and 15 million. Is Nick Martinez worth that much money? And me saying all this about, is this guy worth that much? Is this guy worth that much? That's fine. But the bigger problem is not is he worth that much? Can the Padres even pay that much? With all of the problems they have with this roster financially. And it all is going to come down to the decision on Juan Soto. When are they going to definitively make we're either keeping him or we're trading him decision on Juan Soto? I feel like if Juan Soto makes it past the winter meetings, still a San Diego Padre, wouldn't you say, Brent, that the odds of him returning next year just like by default have to go up? They're not going to be overwhelming odds like, 90% chance he's back next year. But don't you think if he makes it past the winter meetings, still a San Diego Padre, that just by default, the odds of him staying have to go up? Or do you think that the odds, no matter what, after the winter meetings, if he is not traded, it still feels like it's a goner, like he is going to be traded eventually?
I think it feels like he's going to be traded eventually, even if it's not before the winter meetings. It's like I said last week. I think that the winter meetings will just kind of get the ball rolling. I don't think anything will necessarily happen other than AJ will be the queen of the ball for the winter meetings because everyone's going to want to come talk to him and be like, so, what would you hypothetically give up for Soto? And I think it's going to get started. It won't happen at the meetings, but
see why I think it needs to happen at the meetings is because if you're the Padres, you need to make other moves to your team. And I feel like they can't make the significant moves that are necessary, whether it be trading for some starting pitching or signing starting pitching, without first addressing Juan Soto. Because if you keep Juan Soto, you're still going to have to work around the money issue with the team. If you trade Juan Soto, we know the direction. We know that he's gone. You know the month. Like, okay, we know all this. Now it's like you can go out. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck if this happens. It will absolutely suck. But I feel like there's a limbo here with Juan Soto. If he's on the team, I don't know how they're going to make the necessary moves to fully upgrade their team without trading pieces or elevating from within. You trade Juan Soto, you get a little more wiggle room, and then AJ can theoretically, go to work, right? Go cook or whatever that, But I just feel like if Juan Soto is still on this team after the trade deadline, after the winter meetings, I still feel they're they're in a holding pattern. Do you feel that way or no?
Sort of. I don't know. I feel like their number crunchers have already been working on, any other way that they could save money without having to trade Soto, and I don't think that they're going to be able to, I don't think they're going to be able to do it without just putting themselves in an even, bigger player hole than they are now, to where, you think we have gaps in certain positions now. By the time they would, get rid of some of the non-Juan Sotos, then we're going to be in an even bigger hole, because then we're going to, oh, okay, well, we'll trade Cronenworth. Okay, well, then now we have to replace Cronenworth now on top of the, position holes we already had. So I don't know. I think if there was a way to do it, they would have already figured it out. So
I think that trading Jake Cronenworth would be addition, like
he was just the first one that popped in my head.
I would welcome that. Unfortunately, much easier said than done. If they can move off the Xander Bogaerts contract, highly unlikely because he has a no trade. But if that were the case, I would 100% welcome that. But that's not going to happen. A Jake Cronenworth trade is probably not going to happen. Okay, so just you are looking at the situation they have right now. They need a lot of pitching. Their rotation, not good. The free agents on the market, not really sexy. Not names that you can go out and get for $7.5 million. Right? The next Seth Lugo, the next Michael Wacha. Who even knows if they have that money to go out and spend? A $30 million contract for a pitcher for multiple years? I don't know if that's happening. But if they decide on the Juan Soto trade, then those things I think become possible. And that's where they put themselves in. They put themselves in a position where you're sitting here not wanting to trade Juan Soto, but the only way that you can legitimately make upgrades to your team without making any trades or just saying that you're going to promote from within is trading Juan Soto. Like, I hate that. I hate it. If you're a Padres fan, you should hate it. It's stupid how everybody wants Juan Soto to stay here for the next season. I think the only people that don't want Juan Soto to stay here are people that think that Juan Soto isn't good, and those people, I don't even know what they're watching. Like, oh, Juan Soto's overrated. Are you sure about that? Tell me you don't know baseball without telling me you don't know baseball. Saying that Juan Soto's overrated or Juan Soto's not a good baseball player. Dude is one of the top 10 hitters in the game. He's 24 years old. He's come up with big moment after big moment in postseason games. If you're a person that doesn't want Juan Soto on your team, take out the money thing. If you don't want Juan Soto on your team, I don't know what to tell you. But the reason why this team, I don't know if they can afford Juan Soto on it next year, is if they do have Juan Soto on it next year, how are you going to build out your rotation? How are you going to build out your bench? How are you going to get pieces that you need? And that's what they put themselves in. It's by their own doing. Like, when I'm trying to think of, when you try to get yourself out of a mess, but it's the mess that you created. That's where the Padres are at. And it's no one's fault but their own. And it sucks because they're probably sitting there like, we don't want to do this, but we have to do it. And every Padres fan's like, why are you doing this? Well, because we don't have a choice. Well, why don't you have a choice? Because you made that decision by signing all of these players to these high-priced contracts and screwing yourself out of keeping Juan Soto for the 2.5 years, 3 playoff runs. Now only, well, I guess maybe 1 playoff run, unless he's on the team next year. Because you can't build a roster?
I'm looking at it like this, you got 6 Ferraris in your garage, but you can only afford 4 of them.
Yeah, but you also you bought the 6 Ferraris,
knowing you couldn't pay for them.
You couldn't pay for them, and
now
and whose fault is that?
Well, exactly. That's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Is you overextended. You got overdrafted from the bank because you could afford 4 Ferraris, but instead of going out and buying 4 Ferraris and then getting couple Corvettes or something, not quite Ferrari, but still good level cars. Now you can't afford it. You're like, nah, screw it. Let's just go out and get 2 more Ferraris. You can't afford that. Yeah, we'll worry about that. We'll worry about that down the line.
Yeah.
We got no payments for 2 years. We'll worry about it in 2 years. And then 2 years and the bill comes and now it's like, oh crap.
Do you think, I mean, obviously it's a hypothetical, but like, it kind of feels if Peter Seidler were still around, I think there'd be a better chance of Juan Soto staying here next year than not. Still not a great chance. I still think that the majority, the percentage of him being traded would still be very high. But at this point, I give it like, honestly, a 75% chance he's traded this offseason. And that might be too low, honestly. Just because reading the tea leaves and seeing everything that's happened and just dissecting and hearing what the Padres are saying and all the moves, if you don't trade Juan Soto, how are you building a roster? How? Like, how are you doing it? You have to be so creative. And I'm not saying AJ Preller is not. He is very creative. I mean, he should be. He never sleeps. I mean, if your day is a 20-hour day every day, you should be one of the most creative people on the planet because you have so much time to think about things. And that's what Preller is. So if you keep Juan Soto, you are going to have to be incredibly creative. And it might mean you have to try to move another deal. But the problem is trying to move another deal will be way harder than moving Juan Soto. I mean, look, I think Yu Darvish, he's had a really good career. The person Yu Darvish is amazing, but as a pitcher for this team, 2 of the last 3 years he's been injured. You gave him $100+ million contract. To me, I would try to move heaven and earth to move off of Yu Darvish. Problem, to move off another pitcher would mean you need to get more pitching, and that's already a problem for them. They're just in a situation. I don't envy Preller, man. I don't, because it feels like whatever he does this offseason is not going to be, it's not going to like.
Well, he's not
be
going to
gone
any
over
fans.
well.
He's not going to get any fans.
It's not going to go over well. You got already the situation with Bob Melvin, I think, made a lot of Padres fans like, I'm not trusting you ever again. Even though I think people still like to forget about Preller's past. But anyway. And then if you trade Juan Soto in the same offseason that you ran Bob Melvin out of town, good luck. Oh, and then you end up not re-signing your Cy Young Award winner that, says he wanted to be here. Another thing that you can't do because you gave a bunch of money to other players that are older and have not performed for you.
I don't know, going back to whether it would have made a difference if Seidler was still here. I don't think we can answer that yet because we don't know definitively yet who's in charge of the checkbook now. Once we know for sure who's going to be, steering the boat, so to speak, when we get going and we have, everyone's positions finalized, then we can maybe see that. Because if they put somebody in there that's going to be a penny pincher and is not going to just, shell out the money.
We don't know the direction, and rightfully so. To me, I am not pushing that narrative of like, we need to know now. Because look, this is all understandable. This is life. There are people put in place now. Eric Casenda, probably said that name wrong, that I'm sure is going to be in place for a while. So that whole situation, I don't think it's changing. I don't think we're getting this new Padres. I don't think we're getting a new CEO or chairman of the team anytime soon, or point person. I think that the structure of this team is the structure of this team for the foreseeable future until it changes, which I think eventually down the line it will, but as of right now, it won't. So that question, Brent, it's a valid question. I just don't know if that's going to be answered anytime soon. And because of that, you can't sit around and just wait for that question to be answered, because that's going to be something that will take a while. So you have to move forward. I do believe that AJ Preller is still very much in charge of this whole thing. I think he is very much in charge, answering to Eric Cosenza, to a lesser extent, Eric Grupner, and they're going forward with just 1 year at a time. I think that's another reason why I think a 2-year deal was given to Mike Schilt, and moving forward and seeing what they can do next year. But there is a lot of just hopes for next season. Like, I hope this turns out well. I hope this guy performs. I hope this guy doesn't get hurt. And I've said it before. If your strategy is hope, you're doomed to fail. But the problem is they're kind of only in a position right now where they have to hope these guys do better. Like, they don't have a choice but to hope that Manny Machado comes back healthy and puts up an MVP type of season. They don't have a choice but to hope that Xander Bogaerts actually performs somewhat to his contract. Highly doubtful, but still, they have no choice but to hope that Fernando Tatis Jr. has a 2021 offensive type of season. Same thing with Darvish and Musgrove. I don't like it, but it's the strategy that I think they're going to be having to roll with. All right, coming up next, some amazing stories on the back page. One of them involves an edible mascot. We'll talk about that coming up next.
All right, coming up next on the back page, an edible mascot. Also, we have an update on San Diego State's coaching search. I'll tell you about that coming up next. All right, back on Jon and Jim. Jon, of course, is making his way, probably already there, to Viejas Arena as the Aztecs take on Point Loma tonight. Our pregame coverage starts in about 12 minutes with Fletch and Jon. Of course, you can
He's
listen.
not even there yet.
He's not?
No. So much for leaving early.
I know. Loser. Quitter. Anyway. Aztecs, Point
Fletch said
Loma.
he's soft.
So soft. He doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be here. He just wants to ditch the show. It's fine. Just wait until I ditch the show, Jon, for multiple days in a row.
I don't think anyone will notice.
Yeah, thanks. What?
Oh, oops. Was my mic on?
Wow. Anyway, okay. So Kurt Kenny has just posted a article saying that the Aztecs officially have interviewed Nebraska defensive coordinator Tony White. I mean, we knew this. We knew that he was a name on their radar. Nothing new. But there is a line in here that is interesting. Let me see if we can find it. I lost it. Where is it? And I've lost it. Good job. Good job, Jim. Idiot. Okay, here it is. So it says that also Washington's offensive coordinator, who will be obviously coaching this upcoming weekend, is definitely in the mix as well. So that's a name I think people are like definitely looking at. I mean, he leading a team to an undefeated season, or excuse me, not leading a team, but being offensive coordinator for Washington, Ryan Grubb. That's a name that I think would excite, especially with what Washington is doing this year. It would definitely excite Aztecs fans. Like, you bring over an offensive coordinator from a team that just potentially
went to a national title game or went to a college football playoff. I mean, they got to get through Oregon on next Friday or this Friday. Definitely not an easy task there. But if they did, Brent, and I would assume if they don't, they're going to be in like the Rose Bowl because then Oregon would go to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at the Kansas right now, like to me, that would probably be my number one. Would you agree or no? Because that to me, he's the hot guy.
I don't know. I kind of like the UNLV guy.
Okay.
The coordinator or whatever, that they're putting up a lot of points this year.
They are, but he's
kinda,
only been coaching for one season at the Division I level.
That's okay.
Ryan Grubb is a guy who has been coaching for much longer than that.
I don't know how much that really matters so much in college opposed to like, MLB, you want somebody that has all this experience, but college there's a little more leeway for you, shoot, look at Dion.
Mm-hmm.
Dion had no coaching experience really until he went to Jackson State. So he's still kind of learning on the fly. And I think a lot of these kids, they're going to relate to a more younger person anyways, in terms of like recruiting, when opposed to, having an older coach in there. So I think you can have not a lot of experience. It's the only thing you have to worry about, kind of like what Ziegler said, is if you come in and then you have success in like your first 2 years, you're going to get scooped up by some other bigger school. It's going to come in and right away, like you said, because then you'll be the hot guy and they'll scoop you up.
All right, let's get to the back page. Don't know how much time we got here, but the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Brent, this year will be in Orlando, Florida. It has now become my favorite bowl. One, Pop-Tarts are amazing.
Yes.
They're freaking fantastic. And two, what they're doing is feels like cannibalism. I mean, this is just, it feels wrong, but it also feels so right. Because what they're doing is, after the game, okay, per the bowl, when the final whistle blows, the winning team will celebrate by taking a bite out of a giant pastry mascot. I cannot wait to see what a giant Pop-Tart mascot looks like.
This is so much better than getting mayonnaise dumped on your head.
And how much of it is edible? Like, it better be a giant Pop-Tart, and every bit of this thing better be edible. And I better see
not every bit.
I want to see the entire team dogpile this Pop-Tart, and it looks like a zombie apocalypse, like just zombies going after somebody. That would be amazing. All right, I want to thank Darnay Tripp for Sports Wrap. I want to thank Mark Ziegler for joining us, John for ditching us early there, Brent, all of you out there for listening and watching today on YouTube. Coming up next, we have the Aztecs pregame show. Aztecs Point Loma tips off at 7. Coming up next here, John Schaefer and Ben Fletcher taking you up until tip-off at 7 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760.